The beginning of the story was about passion for cars. I've been passionate by cars and Porsches since very young, and one day I realized that this guy was doing an amazing job in California. So I've been following him for a couple of years, and one day I decided to drop him an email and telling him how much I loved the work he was doing, and that's the way we met. But I think Rob on his side as well was already thinking about something in his mind, or not?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I was. I have three passions in my life: rock and roll music, cars, and watches. So I'd scratched two of those itches. I started as a car designer, and then I mutated into music, and then we had some. We managed to make a name, a little bit of a name for ourselves with restoring on our ideas for the Porsche 911, and then I got an email from Marco, and he said, I really love what you guys do. Have you ever thought about doing a watch? And I said, yeah, of course I've thought about doing a watch, but if we did a watch, it would need to be so special as to be not even worth considering. But, it's, by the way, who are you? And then we started a back and forth, and then I realized that Marco was at Panerai, and this is a very famous watch designer. And I thought, I probably need to take this seriously. I think this could go somewhere. And, the idea that anything we did from Singer would be anything other than spectacular and super special and audacious and unusual and crazy was it had to be all those things. And Marco said, maybe I have an idea. And that's when we started.
This Marco came to me and just discussed. We have a big discussion about the Chronograph. He was in contact with a Californian guy, cars, but I said no, forget it. It's not possible. No more brands. We have enough watch brands today. And but after we had a second meeting. We ate a pizza, and he just came with drawings. And in those drawings, I could see exactly what I was working on for 9 years. It's a long job. I just wanted to make a very new chronograph that could be much more legible. And of course, it wasn't something I wanted to give him. But when he showed me the pictures of exactly the same thing, chronograph with 5 hands, all in the center, and showing the time differently, then I say, maybe. And after, when he spoke more about California, about Rob, about the cars, about the 911, I'm not a big fan of cars, but of course, the 911 for me, it's a mythic car. And we had the chance to see each other, and I said, yes, we are going to do it.
But I need to jump in here. I mean, he tells a terrible story. So these guys met, these guys know each other, they respect each other. This guy's a rock and roll star, this guy's a rock and roll star in this wonderful world of watches here in Geneva. And he came to a meeting with this guy with a fantasy watch in his briefcase, and showed it to Jean-Marc, and Jean-Marc said, who makes this movement that will power your fantasy watch? Marco said, nobody, I don't know who. And he said, well, I've spent 10 fucking years designing something. And he goes,
maybe you should do something together.
And it was clear that something was going on. I'd said that the only way we can do something is if it's super special. He said, and then this was a product of this conversation with Jean-Marc, and it was like suddenly the universe started to do this, and we came into
today the watch industry is so serious, so everything's square, very easy. And this guy comes and says, oh no, it's not a problem. I imagine a completely new dial, a completely new movement, but I don't know who and how we can do that. I say, but you're crazy, what's that? It's not possible. Nobody never has done something like that, and you come and you design something and you hope that someone will do that. And after, yes.
And you were
it
doing
was
it,
a
so
big
it was not
opportunity.
that crazy.
It's le hasard, totally
Yeah.
the hasard.
I contact Rob really with for the passion I had for what he was doing, and I've been in love with the Porsche 911 since ever, and the way they were restoring, reimagining this iconic car, respecting what Porsche did for 50 years was just, to me, was just amazing. And I've been attracted by everything. Everything. From I've been attracted from a lot of this iconic product that comes from the 60s and the 70s, that are cars, watches, or furniture, whatever. Is a period in the history where a lot of new things came alive thanks to new technology, new materials, new ideas, new way of living, and that inspired my work daily. So the way Rob and his team were reimagining Porsche was really blowing my mind. That's why I got in touch with him.
We blew his mind. I managed to surround myself with two guys who are experts. I wouldn't pretend to be an expert I know what I like. I have a taste in watches. And it's pretty normal, average, my taste in watches. I love the watches that a lot of car guys love, the sports chronos from the 60s and 70s. Hoya Otavia, Carrera, Monaco, Omega Speedmaster, Rolex Daytona, all those wonderful jewels of watches which have this fabulous motorsport connection. I grew up in the 1970s with the Hoya Chronograph on the front of the Ferrari Formula One cars. These were logos and brands that fascinated me. You know, beautiful girls on the side of a racetrack with timing. It was like, what are they doing? And who is Hoya and who is Rolex? And it was like, this was a magical vintage era of chic as far as I was concerned, and it was all connected with the cars that I really loved. And I think this lifestyle, this sense of design, this sense of heritage, place, international racetracks like Monza, Spa, Nürburgring. These were all things as a young boy that infected me. And these guys brought legitimacy and an incredible ability to execute in a world that I don't really understand, this magnificent world of mechanical watchmaking here in Switzerland that I've only dreamt about. And here I was with royalty that I could speak to. These guys that was taking us seriously because of what we had done in California. They respected what we had done, which was humbling and amazing. And therefore we had this opportunity to work together to do something that took some of the values that we do, that we imbue with our Porsche celebrations, our Porsche 911, and take that level of execution, that level of expertise, that level of artisanal splendor into a new watch. But not just any watch, a watch that had a profoundly new way of presenting time, both the time of day and elapsed time. Spectacularly different. And this is what really, I want to use the word intrigue. It surpasses intrigue. I was gripped, and then Marco showed me some of his early designs, and we've spent the last 2 years working in close collaboration with Jean-Marc to engineer and present and design a beautiful watch which pays homage to Hoya and Omega and Rolex and for those wonderful sporting chronos, but with a modern 21st century sensibility and the benefit of the genius of Jean-Marc and the genius of Marco and our aesthetic too, into a timepiece that we really feel is extremely unique, and we're very excited about it. And of course, our goal here is to launch a watch, but our goal here is to also to launch a watch company. If we have some luck, some God is on our side, we have some years of many ideas to take forward. Well, this is going to be the first product that Singer produces from scratch. Our work up to this point for the first 8 years has been celebrating Porsche. The Porsche 911, in our view, is the most important sports car in the world, and we have lavished celebration and passion and skill and craftsmanship on reimagining the Porsche 911 for the new century. And in many ways, the watch does a similar thing for the chronograph sporting mythology, the life around, you know, a sporting chronograph, which is connected to motorsport. So this is, for us, it's a big connection. And in terms of the material quality, the presentation, the level of deliciousness, if you like, in the piece as a jewel, but also as a wonderful functional instrument. There are many connections, I think, with what we do with the Porsches.
There are, I think, two different axes of inspiration. One comes from the chronograph and the sport watches from the 60s and 70s. All those shapes that were pretty common back in time. Through all these new automatic chronographs that were presented in that era, that were Zenith or Heuer, Rolex, Omega, and they were very specific to that era. And the other way I approached design was to reimagining one of the main functions of those watches that were chronograph. So the link between the design and Singer is really the fact we are reimagining the way of displaying a chronograph. Completely new, completely innovative, completely different from anybody else.
And this is the focus of the watch. We have changed the focus of the watch. A traditional sports chronograph is a beautiful but flawed compromise. It's a balance of a dial which battles to tell the time of the day and also battles to tell elapsed time. We said, no, our watch is focused. Our watch is primarily a sporting chronograph. So this is where Marco in his I don't want to speak for this guy, but the focus, the chronograph, is in the center. And so the focus of the watch is all about the elapsed time, the stopwatch element, the chronograph element. And the time of day is less important, it's peripheral, it's on the outside. And this is what Jean-Marc had done, was engineering quietly and slowly and patiently for 7, 8, 9 years. And he had drawn the watch that this guy had engineered and they had never spoken. And this is the moment of epiphany with this project that for us is so exciting, that reversing the traditional roles of a watch.
So I will continue what those guys just told us. This time, vintage, it's the time I was at school. And this time I made my first chronograph, and at this time I found that it wasn't very easy to read. Only those very small counters weren't easy to read. And the only way to make it more legible was to enlarge the counters, and the only way to enlarge the counter was to put it in the center. And so after you made the junction with the sports counters, that big watches, big counters. You have the pusher on top, and you really see well. You can read it; it's very legible. In the normal wrist chronograph, you never can really read the time. You have 30 minutes, very small counters. And the first idea was about making more legible, more accurate. It's all about precision. And that comes from the time I was at the watchmaking school. And I need a lot of years, many tens of years before I just said, yes, now I try to do that. But the only way to do that was to completely reinvent the chronograph, because you have no space in a normal watch. And we can say that now some people speak about 200 years that the first chronograph exists, have been made. But in truth, it's more the wrist chronograph. It's more about 1920, around 1930, and that means from this time we always make the same architecture of the movement. It's always the same. You have a center second chronograph center wheel, and you have a counter small one. And to put all hours, minutes, and second elapsed time in the center, you have to construct a new one. And that's the beginning of the first step of the AgenGraphe. AgenGraphe can exist for itself alone. It's a heart. It's the heart of a new chronograph, and it's completely new, that all completely different from all what has been done before. It means that the heart, made of 134 parts, is able to produce what you need. A dial, to support the dial, to have 3 hands, and you just have to make the correct speed for the second, and after it will jump absolutely instantaneously for the minutes and the hours. And you can also push it to reset the thing. And after, you have only to put a movement around that and to put the automatic thing on top, please.
Only.
Between the movement and the dial, so you can see the movement. The movement is now at the level of Geneva seal quality, and we need to see that. And a rotor is not very nice to see. Everybody today, from the cheapest movement to the most expensive, they all have very good ideas to show their rotors. But I wanted to put it elsewhere.
The 1st of June we launch not only the watch, but we launch a watch company, and so it will be the first stone of a long, we hope, long life project. We'll produce for launch. We'll produce 50 pieces that will be a launch edition watch. It will be available after the summer, and we'll sell it directly to car collectioner, watch collectioner. They will be the early adopters that will be able to access to this product. Only 50 watches worldwide, and then we'll come in January 2018, very likely, with a complete watch collection. Ideally, due to the small quantities, we'll keep distributing our watches by ourselves in the beginning, and then we'll look for more opportunity to distribute these watches. But we really will focus on a new way of selling them. This is very much our aim.
And I think one of the things that I've learned about. I've learned so much stuff in the last 8 years, but what I have learned, and again, mixing with these two guys, everything that comes out of their mouths confirms what I think about how we have built Singer as a company. It's through patience, and it's through the quality of the work, and that is all that is important. It doesn't matter how long it takes, and the fact that these movements take days and days and days to make is the nature of what we are doing. And in many ways, it's a microcosm of the process of presenting something to the world which is special, which is genuinely unusual. It's hard to make, it's difficult to make, but we have pleasure and joy in doing it. And the idea is that that can't be rushed, and it takes as much time as it takes, and the world will love what we do. They won't, they will, some of them will, we don't really know. But the idea is that we will produce a product which we love. And it will happen at its own speed, and there isn't a rush. We haven't got a chronograph timing us on this. The idea is to make beautiful things in a beautiful way. It sounds a bit corny, and what I have also learnt from our amazing clients at Singer is that people are prepared to do whatever it takes to get something which is quintessentially unique and quintessentially special. And that's a lesson that I think we all understand. And we all come together with this knowledge that to build something special takes time, and it takes something special at the core. And every time I talk to our clients at Singer, it's affirmed every day that it doesn't really matter how long it takes. It's who you're working with, it's the pleasure in the journey, and then it's the pleasure in the ownership proposition of something that is clearly had love and passion and thought and authenticity poured into it in spades. And that's I think we all have faith that we love what this watch is, and we love the idea behind it and the ethos behind it. It celebrates a golden era from the past, but looks very firmly to the future as well. We feel it's unique, and we're very excited about it.
You know, I think it's the same. We work the same, Singer and Agenhor. We need to do things completely. It's not about optimization. It's not about industrialization. It's about making a product, making something with friends, making for friends. Probably the clients have to be friends after.
Absolutely.
We'll see. But in any case, we are now very close, and it's all about pleasure. Watch must be done by a watchmaker, not by machine, things like that. And so that takes time. And we can do what we want. It's not possible to do more than a small quantity. Today, we need more than 1 week to produce only one movement for a watchmaker, a good watchmaker. And we have only very few good watchmakers. That explains you that it's not possible to imagine to have a lot of big production. But it's not the question to produce a lot. We know this watch has been done by this man, and after he is responsible of what he has done.